I've had 2 emails come in this week asking about using Zwift with a basic set of rollers. So no smart trainer, no power meters, none of this big technology, just a basic set of rollers and a speed and cadence sensor. In the past, I've always used my power meter as the source of power for Zwift to get rolling along, but I've never gone and selected those unsupported set of rollers on Zwift and seen what the experience is all about. So today's recipe for my workout and this video is a basic set of rollers. I'm using a dual Bluetooth and Ant Plus speed and cadence sensor from Tacx. We're going to install that on the bike. Even though I've got all the power meters on the bike, I'm just going back to basics for this to see what it's about. And we're going to be using the unsupported set of rollers profile on Zwift. How accurate is that with my setup? I don't think it'll be anywhere close, but the 2 people who emailed me wanted to know, is this worthwhile? Could they use workout mode? What's it like just riding along? I wanted to know as well. So here's the answer today in today's workout. Let's get stuck into it. Okay, over to unboxing the speed and cadence sensor from Tacx here. As mentioned before, it's dual Bluetooth Smart and Ant Plus. So this can be used for Zwift Apple TV, Zwift iOS on your iPad, iPhone, but also Ant Plus to a Windows machine or whichever combination. This future-proofs your speed and cadence sensor if you get a dual band one. So everything's supplied here in the baggie here we go. You can go with cable ties or basic just O-rings as well. Now I'm using just the simple O-ring, rubber O-rings to get this on the bike temporarily. First of all, let's put the CR2032, pretty par for the course, these batteries, and they're child-proof. So let me, okay, yep, and we're in. Now, no stated lifespan on these, probably a year or so. Those batteries seem to last pretty well. Now over to the mobile app that I use to check for sensors. It pulls up as a sensor, beautiful. And there we have it, it has been detected. So it's alive via Bluetooth on the phone. Okay, next up over to the bike itself. We're throwing the speed sensor at the back here, we'll throw the cadence sensor here. Yes, I do have a number of sensors on the bike, but these are the ones I'm going to be using today. To answer the question that came through on email, what's the most basic setup and is it worth using? Okay, quite straightforward getting those on. Now this is the magnet on the crank side, so I'm just lining that up. And we'll snip the top of that off just so it looks a little nicer. Rock and roll. The magnet on the rear wheel. This can be a little tricky to line up, but just make sure if you're going to install something like this, there's a little arrow on top where the little reed switch inside those are. So this is on the Tacx located on the Tacx sensor there, located on the right hand side. So you can see the magnet's going more to the right. Okay, proof of concept to see this is working. Back over to my little utility here on the mobile phone over Bluetooth. We're going to crank this up and we have speed readings, we have cadence readings. We're ready to go. Okay, over to Zwift, we select, well, my heart rate's going to pick up there. I had my heart rate strap on from a previous session. Speed sensor, we make sure we've got the correct tire size selected. So I'm running 25mm tires. Make sure they're selected, and the correct speed and cadence sensor we need is the 13553. Now, because these Tacx rollers are unsupported, they're unknown speed and power curve, we're going to try the unsupported rollers. This is what we have to select. This is Zwift's best guess at the power we're putting out. I don't think this is going to be very accurate, but it should be ballpark to get us up and running. Okay, we'll also select the cadence sensor there. That's all we need. That's the most basic setup on Zwift. So once we're all paired up, we just need to put the bike on the rollers themselves and not kick the table over as we mount the bike. Probably the hardest part about riding rollers is actually mounting and dismounting. Once you're on and once the wheels are rolling, you're good to go. Okay, away we go into the Llama lab test and up and running. Basic set of rollers, speed and cadence sensor, it's all we're running that unknown set of rollers profile, and it's not too bad. Look, to be honest, the power was reading quite high on these things, and a catch-all from Zwift, which I think's a good move, is these are limited to an estimated 400 watts, well, 400 watt guesstimation of what your power actually is. So you're not going to be able to jump on one of these set of rollers with high pressure tires, spin them out and win all your races. You're going to be limited to 400 watts. It'll also note in any Zwift race or any Zwift recording that you do that you aren't using a power meter. It's guesstimated power or Z power from these rollers. What I found was they were reading quite high, but the experience of riding along was still there. Now without erg mode, workout mode was a little tougher than normal. You sort of had to choose the speed and the power to try and match what it was, and it was around about 100 watts out. So it wasn't quite realistic when it came to comparing it to the P1 pedals which were on the bike. So workout mode was a bit of a challenge, but I took the time to practice my balance skills here, and I thought while we're at it, let's try and top this out. Where can we actually take these rollers to on the power meter, using the P1 pedals, up against the estimated power, which is the capped out at 400 watts Z power estimated. Here we go, we'll get stuck right into it. I think I top out at about 600 watts on the pedals, but this is locked in at 400. We're not gonna go over 400 watts for this estimated power. But just riding along, that experience was pretty well. And for the dismounts, very carefully. Back again to my favorite website on the internet, DC Rainmaker's analysis tool, to compare multiple fit files at the same time. What we've got is two fit files today, one from the PowerTap P1 pedals, and the other file, which is the Z power recorded from Zwift with those unsupported rollers. And the first observation here is the first 10 minutes, you'll see the purple line there, which is the P1 pedals, which I'll in this case call the source of truth for correct power, remains the same for that first 10 minutes, whereas the rollers themselves, which the speed and power curve, well, the power curve is based off speed, continues to rise for the first few minutes. So here is exactly why we use a 10-minute warm-up protocol for nearly all trainers, because things need to warm up and things change in those first 10 minutes. So you can see the first few minutes there, it takes to stabilize, and around about the 6 or 7 minute mark, things start tracking nicely. Look, there's not even an elephant in the room here. The elephant in front is front and center. These things are completely different when they come to readings. Again, they track pretty well, but the numbers are way, way out. It's not the point of this though. This is first of all, the 10-minute section is just to show you that things do warm up and do change. And then once we jump over to the 200 watts for 10 minutes, they track well, but they're completely off. Now, there's a number of factors here. Actually, there's probably hundreds of factors that contribute into why this isn't accurate as a power measurement. Roller size, tire pressure, tire size should be okay, but smoothness on the pedals, humidity, temperature, you name it, everything, bearing quality, belt quality, moon phase, who knows, even elevation, I guess, because gravity changes. So we could go into all the detail of why this is inaccurate. It is what it is though. If I was to let down my tires, I was running 90 PSI on 25mm tires. If I was to let those down and build up the resistance a little bit more, maybe that would come more into line. I didn't want to play around with that too much. I just wanted to jump on and have the basic experience. So power meter wise conclusion, no good at all. We're looking at the discrepancy there is 70 or 80 watts up to 100 watts here. Well out of the ballpark. There's a couple of little dips there. The cadence sensor the speed sensor wasn't quite aligned with the magnet. That's a user problem. If I was going to put a permanent solution on the bike, I'd line that up a little better. And then over to the over and unders. Look, they're close, as in you can do them, but the numbers aren't really representative of the effort that you do. You can see there the power meter spots the acceleration in both of those, but once you get on top of the gear on the rollers, again, rollers, it's easy to get on top of the gear, there's low resistance. It sort of then flattens out and dips down. So for workout mode, nah, not really. But what really got me though, just riding along, the avatar moved, and as you went faster up to that 400 watt ceiling, the avatar went faster, you could slow back down. So in conclusion, for a basic setup, on a basic set of rollers, unsupported, you're not going to get the power accuracy you need from a power meter. Even a cheaper power meter would be definitely the way to go compared to this. But just to get rolling along, this does the trick. And with the Bluetooth, you can pull out a phone, and I guess Zwift has a testing period or a 7-day trial or a 25K trial. I'm not quite sure what that is. You can get yourself up and running for as little as $25, $30, $40 or something like that. Plus these sensors can be used outside if you need as well. So there we have it today. I'd give that about 7 out of 10 for experience, because it's nice and cheap. but it doesn't give you that smart trainer experience. But if you're looking for that full experience, you've got to go to the erg mode on a smart trainer, preferably direct drive, and enjoy all the benefits something like Zwift or other software have to offer indoors. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon with more.